Okay.
Okay. And if everyone's done, I know Elaine on Zoom. While they're handling that, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. So city council regular meeting, Thursday, March 13th, 2025 at 6:02 p.m. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, And before we do roll call, I'd like to just have all of us take a moment of silence for our fallen volunteer firefighter. Thank you. All right, let's do roll call starting with Councilman Clement.
Rob Warren.
Thank you, Wood.
Adam Hand.
Nicole Harden.
Tom Miller.
I think Councilor Armstrong.
Yes, I'm here.
Great. All right. Move into item number 5, changes to the agenda. Do I have any changes to the agenda wanting to be made? Councilor here.
It seemed like on number 16, maybe there was a title issue there, but 20, yeah. 24 or 2505 doesn't have that title. $25.05 provided no less is about ARPA.
Oh, okay. And the records one is. I vote 2.
And 2503.
We have it in there.
I think.
Oh, I just the title.
I think, yeah.
Okay. So we'll change item number 16 to. Expenditure America, or the. Expenditure. Or the. ARPA resolution. Okay. Thank you for catching that.
Yeah, thank you.
Counselor Horn.
I had noted the same error on the agenda. And it was concerned for me because there's no mention of discussion of ARPA funds anywhere in the public agenda. So, yeah, we're giving public notice that that was a topic tonight. So we should proceed with that one or not.
That's what you're concerned.
Yeah, if it was not on the one that was on the website or available to the public, then. We shouldn't talk about it.
Is it not in your packet?
It's in the packet, but it's nowhere in the public notice of the meeting, what topics would be discussed here.
I see. You would like to remove resolution 2505 or table it for the next meeting?
Like it's to discuss.
Do we want to take a vote of all those who would be in favor of tabling it to the next meeting? Yeah, all right, all in favor for tabling item number 16 to the next meeting, say aye. Aye.
Hi.
All right. We will table item number 16 to the next. Are there any other changes to be made? All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment, number 16, table.
Second.
Okay. Counselor Miller made a motion to approve the agenda minus item number 16, and it was seconded by Counselor Han. Right, is there any discussion? All right, discussion, we'll move on to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, all right. Motion carries. Okay. Let's move on to item number 7, the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, a motion has been made by Counselor Pointer and seconded by Counselor Han to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion?
I wasn't here, so I'm gonna.
And Mayor,
Uh,
I also wasn't here, so I'll abstain on that.
Okay. My only comment with the financials is we have, I guess if, I just would like to briefly discuss the financials. So I would like to just pull those off really quick of the consent agenda
You have a motion on the table.
that we were discussing. All right. Never mind. Move on to a vote. Everyone's done discussing
Consent agenda.
the consent agenda, yeah.
I mean, if you're interested in having that conversation, maybe we want to modify it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's nothing too crazy. I was just hoping to have more financials presented next.
In your letter that was received by the CPA, it explains that she's in tax season and she doesn't have the same access to things that the other one did. So getting bank accesses and things takes a while, so we can't just produce.
Okay, yeah,
We're working on it though.
that was it. That was my only question. Okay. Any further discussion?
Mayor,
Yeah, Counselor Armstrong?
on the budget to actual, I have a concerned about it because the budget to actual is based upon the $500,000 general fund. And the city manager gave us in our budget book a $510,000 general fund budget. I don't believe that the budget,
Counselor Armstrong, do you want to pull that off of the consent agenda and discuss it, or?
yes, please, but I don't, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have to have the motion fail before we can remove it? Make another motion to remove it?
Can we not modify it?
Would you like me just to answer the question?
Yeah, that's fine.
So again, those were some of the corrections that I asked the previous CPA to change to accommodate what is actually in our budget, and I have sent those changes over. Some of these things are gonna take time with the new person getting familiar with our budget. So those changes have been sent over to add to the budget to actual.
Unfortunately, our resolution 24-15 that the council approved in December is for the $500,000 budget. So shouldn't a new resolution be made for the 510,000 general fund? So that's not something that can be just, request to have fixed. There's a resolution approving it for the wrong amount.
That is something I don't have in front of me. I would have to go and look this up. So you passed a budget for 510. So I will, for the general fund.
Okay, sir, any other discussion on the motion on the table? All right, let's take a vote to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And abstain,
Aye.
2 abstentions. All right. Move into citizen comments. Do we have any comments?
There wasn't any, I'll go look again.
There's no citizen comments tonight, so we're gonna move into unfinished business, item number 9, the Dyer Engineering wastewater plant bids. And at this time, I'm at 6:12, we're going to open a public hearing to receive the staff report, take public comment, and deliberate on the awarding the bids for the wastewater plant. Before we get the staff report by Aaron, is there any, does any counselor member wish to announce actual potential conflicts of interest? No? Counselor Armstrong? I think that's
No.
no from her as well.
No.
Okay. Great. Well, we will move on to the staff report. Aaron.
Good evening, I'm Aaron from the Bear Partnership. I'm pleased to announce we did receive 4 bids on March 5th. They ranged $13,083,134 up to $17,999,999. We, as engineers, would recommend the city accept all bids and award the contract to R&G Excavation in the amount of $13,083,134. Pending no protest. We did get a preliminary notice of potential protest from the number 2 bidder. I have talked to the city attorney. He reviewed our findings and said that it seemed reasonable, and he would recommend the city award based on our analysis. So I wanted to point out to you, we haven't received a formal protest. We would not get a formal protest until after Dyer would issue the notice of intent to award. So in your packet, you should have a letter of notice of intent to award. If the council approves award, contingent upon no protest, then Dyer would send out the notice of intent. I will point out that the cost was $13,083,000, was a little bit higher than we originally anticipated. We look back at the ARPA funding budget, it was $11.377 million. Explain that why those costs have gone up, if you like, or if it is aware of the inflation. That's the primary driver. The $11.377 million that was budgeted in ARPA to now receiving bids at $13,083,134. I have worked with R&G. R&G Excavation built the city of Reedport wastewater plant. They built the wastewater plant for Dyer and the city of Drain, and they worked on several work projects with them. All 4 contractors are good contractors. And please, we got 4. If there's questions or concerns, I'll answer those for you now.
Does any council member have questions?
I did. Does this number represent the full cost of phase 1 of the project? Is that good understanding or not?
The RNG cost included the Kubota $2 million, $2.2 million for all the equipment, the new plant up there and the pump station down here. Now, there could be contingency items such as change orders and things like that, not included within the $13 million bid. But that is phase 1.
That's what I was just getting at. And I guess second
There's a small DQ added items. So when we advertised the DQ, then we came back, gave us final comments. We made most of those changes to the bid document in addendums. There's a couple that, they asked for some odor control at the influent pump station. That's not included within the bid. That would come out of contingency. But yes, that is phase 1 as a piece, if you would.
And just so the public understands, phase 1 gets us a plant up and working
phase one is a new treatment plant, upgraded pump station, and new piping. It does not include a new lab facility or new office building or anything.
Parking lot or lunchroom or anything. Yeah.
No site lighting other than what's needed for code. It's the bare bones. Get you in the permit compliance.
All right, and then the hard question maybe is that full 13,083,000 funded?
As far as I know, on the city's part, you have 14 million total, 14,628,685 ARPA funds. We have requested an additional 2.5 from legislative funding, and we also have Business Oregon cooperating with the city, working on an additional funding package for additional 2.5 million. The 2.5 million could be raised or lowered depending on the city's direction, but we do recommend that you do have some contingency to roll into the project. Since ARPA funds don't have all the environmental part of it, Business Oregon wasn't advising to apply for that additional funding till after you get bids. So now that we have bids, and the city accepts the bids, you have roughly 11.3 million to spend on this project by December 2026. Actually, it's September 2026. So their thought process is get your contractor on board, get it moving, and they will come through and work with them on a funding package. Now, they aren't going to guarantee it. So the question is, what are you going to do if they don't give you the additional funding? There would have to work with you to cut some projects out of this phase one. It's gonna be tough, because it's pretty bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll certainly work with the contractor to see if we can come up with some cost savings as well.
All right, thanks.
So to answer your question, you don't have the additional funding for the total bid amount this time with contingency.
All right, thanks.
This might seem silly, but we don't have the actual bids from the contractors themselves. Is that?
They're in a packet for you.
Okay.
If you want those,
I trust you.
they're back online.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't mind flipping them over, just,
I'm gonna leave.
is there any other questions from council?
We have a projected start date.
Well, that's an interesting question. So if we get a protest, it's gonna take a little bit of time to work through that process. I'd like to say the normal process, is that if there's no protests, you have contracts out within a month. And then we'll start a submittal process, but as far as physical work on the ground, it may take longer. There's a lot of submittals. They have to do this, but maybe 60 days. 30 to 60 days.
Thanks.
I had a question for our city manager, just to verify that the bid that there's funds available now to fund the bid recommendation from the engineer.
So it comes in a reimbursement. We pay and then we get the money back. So I don't know how much they require down to start.
You know, the contractor, they will,
So I think you can draw down on,
well, they're gonna go through a reimbursement. So the 25th of the month, every month, I'll turn it. That's when we pay it.
And
You have roughly 11.3771.
okay, so
But your question, I couldn't answer. I don't know. Answer.
how it's been working up until this point. For example, when engineering costs are, invoices are given to us, we pay them, we turn around and ask Business Oregon for reimbursement. And Counselor Miller and Pointer sign off on the request. So it's not a lump sum payment that we have to.
right, but my recollection was that the original grant was for $14 million. And that some of those funds have already been expended on various things. And so that's what I was trying to get at, is there $13 million remaining?
No, I think we said 11.77.
There was roughly, you have engineering fees, you have contingency, legal, admin, permitting. And after you take that out of the 14,628,685, there's currently 11,377,000 available ARPA funds for this project. That's the reason we're requesting additional amount. I recommend around 2.5. Okay. Not your typical.
Any more questions from council? Counselor Armstrong, do you have any questions for Mr. Speakman?
No, thank you.
All right. Um, Okay. And then we move into the public comment portion, if there's any comment.
There was no,
I don't have any.
on the sheet.
Okay, okay. Well, then I will close the public comment portion. I'll need a motion to close the public comment portion.
I move we close the public comments on this thing. Second.
All right, Counselor Pointer, made a motion to close the public comment and Counselor Miller seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll move on to vote. All those in favor of closing the public comment, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries and the public comment is closed. All right. All right, is there any further discussion on the bids? All right. All right, is council ready to vote on accepting the bids? Motion, sorry.
Make a motion to accept.
Contingent upon the request.
Yes, contingent upon no protest.
Did I get a second?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Counselor Ward made a motion to accept the bids contingent upon no protest, and Counselor Pointer seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll move on to vote. All those in favor of accepting the bids, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. It's accepted.
Very good. I will send you a copy of the notes of intent and drop off the hard copies of this.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you.
We will move on to item number 10, 8th Street property.
I was just making a note, and so that everybody hears it again, that
Oh.
there is another scheduled town hall on the 17th at 6 here at City Hall.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna be holding a workshop with council and a town hall where we are welcoming everyone to come put their input in on what we should do with the 8th Street property, so. Hope to see you there, should be a good one, we'll get that taken care of. All right, item number 11, code enforcement officer / administrative assistant position, volunteer position.
Mayor, may I?
Please.
Being that this is on unfinished business, the code enforcement officer position portion of this is not in this packet. We're just looking at the administrative assistant portion. And until we conclude that, it will stay on the unfinished business unless council would like it removed, but it's on the tracker.
Did you get any progress with getting in touch with CIS and the attorney about the other portion of it?
I have it.
Okay. Has anyone noticed any other changes or anything they wish to make to this job description?
I don't think that anything about having an associate's degree is to be on there. It's a volunteer position. Lots of people just got high school diplomas, so. I just think that's a little bit of an overkill on there.
Is it recommended or required?
It's preferred, it says.
Preferred or equivalent experience. I don't mind saying it preferred,
Yeah,
but it's required. I just noticed a typo at the top. It says volunteer up, and then it should say TiVo.
That's not Microsoft we're not paying for.
Mayor?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yeah, okay, I see where it says in the summary, oh no, I'm sorry, in the characteristics, it says that is under the direct supervision of the city manager. And then down below in the bottom line of the essential duties and responsibility, it says assigned by the city recorder / administrator. And then, so there's a difference of wording there. Also, under the back page, working conditions, it says all new hires. This is volunteers, they're not hired.
They are hired as recommended by the city attorney. They go through the process, but they're not being paid.
So we can use the word hire there. I personally would like to see this get posted. If no one else has any other changes they'd like to make to this particular position. I know we're still with the actual code enforcement officer looking into this, but at least this part, we know that we can have someone in the office doing that work.
May I offer one more thing?
Yeah.
I don't remember which resolution it is. I would have to go back, but if we remember, when we were discussing salaries and job descriptions, the council gave me the authority to take care of the job description. So as long as it stays within the general category, I think that that's reasonable. If it needs adjusted, then we can do that.
I personally feel comfortable with that. It's helpful.
Mayor?
Yeah, Councilor Armstrong?
If the city manager is talking about the resolution 24-11, has that one been corrected and since November and signed? Because as of the first of this last month, it was not signed. So it's not in effect. So I think that you need to get that resolution corrected because it was passed with corrections and it was never corrected and signed. So it's not in effect until it's signed.
Well, we will look into that.
Yep.
Yeah, but regardless, we have the job description here. If council approves it, then we don't even need the resolution. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes, that's correct.
yeah, as long as it's approved by council.
I don't see a reason why we can't go ahead and get this out to the public.
But how much?
I move that we authorize the city manager to publish this job description for a volunteer code enforcement administrative assistant.
Right, Councilor Hand has made a motion to approve the city manager to post the job posting for the administrative assistant, the code enforcement officer. And was seconded by Councilor Miller. Any discussion?
Yeah, it was seconded by Council.
Pointer, sorry.
I was going to.
Yeah, you faked me out there. Seconded by Councilor Pointer, I'm sorry. Any discussion?
Mayor, Mayor,
Councilor
will there be, with the corrections, were there corrections? I couldn't hear if they were accepted or not.
Yeah, I think the typo up top and then just making it cohesive with the city manager part, in the essential duties. That all the corrections? All right, any further discussion? All right, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. All right. We're gonna move on to item number 12, the Pickums. City manager, like to just.
I just would, thank you, to point out that there was some discussion about a March 21st deadline. And in the, as we're seeing things unfold at the federal government where FEMA is doing what it's doing, but this says we have until July. So I think the question is, the board, the planning commission recommended permit by permit, and you default to permit by permit if you don't do anything. I'm not really sure what the difference is. So I just wanted the information to be brought to you that that's July rather than March. And Councilor Ward and I were discussing that, so I think he'll help keep an eye on that.
Do you have any input on it, Councilor Ward?
Yes. So, if the city is going to adopt the model ordinance, that has to be done by July 31st. If that's the path that's taken, it's a path we have to jump on really fast. We're going to make that deadline. In keeping with policy approach, it's up here. I tried to list out some pros and cons of each of the three pick'em options. And the first is a moratorium, which we have in effect now. We could continue that. And the plus side of that is it relieves the staff of workload associated with processing floodplain development permits and also complying with the new reporting requirement. The downside is it prevents any legal development of any kind for property owners in the flood hazard zone, which is not a good thing. The inevitable result of that is you'll be encouraging property owners to go ahead and do whatever they want to do without getting permitting, and that endangers the city's involvement in the National Flood Insurance Program. So that's probably not a good way to go. The permit by permit approach would allow development in the floodplain. And so property owners would still get a floodplain development permit. They'd still have to comply with all the local code requirements for that. And the staff would have to collect additional data that's required under the new requirements within that model code, even if we don't adopt it. That's going to put a little extra work on staff, but that's what you have to do if you're going to have floodplain development. Compliance might be more difficult both for staff and property owners because there'll be some lack of clarity. You won't have all the requirements and procedures in one place. They'll have to dig around a little bit to find them. The third option is adopting the model code or the model ordinance. That also allows development in the floodplain. It's going to require additional resources on the part of both the staff and the council to follow through that process and workshop that code and actually adopt it. And as the city manager pointed out, if you go down that path and go through all that work, you may find at the end of it that it either wasn't required or today it's wrong now. So I think for those reasons, at least for me, the permit by permit approach is the most sensible one and the one that minimizes the required resources to comply.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah. May I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
So the default, what is the difference between the default and doing nothing and adopting the permit by permit?
If you adopt the permit by permit and then report that, you're less likely to be on FEMA radar in the future, and communities that don't respond go on a list of folks that are likely to be audited to make sure that they're actually collecting the required information and the requirements.
You're showing that we're participating, right?
Yeah. Eventually, they'll come look anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think if we're doing the permit by permit thing, we might as well just report it. If that's our decision. Has planning commission worked on it at all, or?
Oh, yeah, they approved the permit by permit, then we went to the conference, and then there was
All that
there
information?
was all the
Yeah.
information that we needed to come back and maybe revisit it, and then so we did the moratorium. So they've been very involved, and I've kept them as well as LCOG about that, and so and I do believe I gave you guys this information in the last meeting as well, so everybody's staying in.
So if we wanted to, if council agreed to do the permit by permit basis, we would just direct you to.
But it's a model ordinance, so you need to, it will come back to you as a ordinance to,
The permit by permit basis is a different ordinance than the model ordinance.
well, yeah, but it will come to you in the form of an ordinance if that's what you would like me to do,
Okay.
or if you would like to continue the moratorium.
Okay.
That's really the question, I think, right?
It wasn't aware it was like required, ordinance.
Yeah.
You say it.
Well, what is? What's okay?
Can we get a reminder of what the planning commission's final recommendation was among these three?
It was the permit by permit, and then it was the moratorium.
Okay.
Until we hopefully had found more, the direction of League of Oregon Cities, and were they going to bring us more resources, and it doesn't sound like they're really tackling it. I think they're just waiting to see how some of those things shake out.
Okay, thank you.
Is council maybe in agreement, we just go with the permit by permit basis?
That seems like the most reasonable option. I mean,
Councilor Armstrong, do you have anything to say?
No, I agree with them.
Well, if we are all in agreement, then we can direct staff to let FEMA know of our decision. All right. We don't need a motion for that, correct? Okay. Just making sure. All right, we will move on to item 13, resolution 2025-22. Do I see correctly, Krista, that you would like us to adopt this tonight? Not a draft or?
It's not a draft. It's been before you, I think, 3 times, I'm hoping it's ready, and I've spoke to Councilor Ward about some of the findings that he thought, and I think we spoke about, I'm not sure if it was this one, the fee schedule, and this one or the next one, about why it was in the resolution. Getting something in place so that we can start recovering charges. We have had, I believe, 38 records requests since I've been here. And last year, as far as I can tell, there was 1. So there's a lot of staff time that's being put to records requests, and you're not recapturing any of those staff time, and as well as the more direction that it gives. So that's what I'm hoping for, yes. They were together, and I separated them, but they are 2 separate things.
Mayor,
Yeah, Councilor Armstrong.
okay, I thought we continued these 2 from our last meeting till we had a workshop scheduled so we could go over it and then the workshop was canceled. So I think these should be continued until we have the workshop, so everybody could go over them together, because I believe that we should follow the Secretary of State Records Management Model Policy, and it's an ordinance, and it actually lists the ORSs, not from just giving vague statutes. So I think that this should be tabled until we have our workshop. Because that's what the council.
I'd like to have a little more discussion about it as well.
So,
That'd be both
yeah,
02 and 03.
Because-
I know at least for, I know we're not on it yet, but 2025-03, there was about five different things that I had questions about or wanted to change, so it'd be nice if we could get it done, but I think maybe it needs to have a little bit of time spent on it. I mean, is there gonna be significant changes to it that council has?
I just think there's value in taking the time to discuss it and maybe get input and thoughts from the public and just. We agreed to have a work session and discuss it, and then we didn't, so I still would like to have that option.
Should we,
Mayor, may I add something? I'm gonna be moving into budget, so if there is things that you guys have that you would like to change, it would, like I had suggested before, if you could just give those to me and I can just give you a polished document, that would be for time's sake. We have 3 budget trainings coming up. You have a town hall, and that's just from our perspective that I don't believe that we have the time to spend on this minute.
We continue to push off discussion of this important thing and not discuss it. And then we rush to make decisions. I understand it was time crunch, but I feel like it's our job to discuss some of this stuff in a little more detail.
I agree with Counselor Han.
can I have a motion to table the 2 resolutions, or do you have to do one of them?
Did you want to do a workshop regarding these?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
Just
need to table it.
reschedule the workshop for
Yeah.
these 2 items.
Yeah, there was, we were gonna be discussing council goals and procedures at that workshop,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah. So we can just reschedule that workshop. Next week we have the town hall, and then we have the budget training on the 7th or the 20th.
And you also have the attorney of the 24th
And then
doing a training,
budget law training on the 27th.
correct?
Did we, the budget law trainings at 9 AM, would you guys be comfortable having a workshop after that ends? So we don't have to come back at night or come back another day,
What day is that?
27th on a Thursday.
or even the 20th is, oh, we'd have to post it.
Close to
Yeah,
what?
the agenda,
Oh, for a workshop?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm down with having it after budget training. If there's time that allows.
right? The 20th,
Oh, the 27th.
oh, the 27th.
You have one the 20th, one the 27th.
I think that, yeah, that's our normal, like, scheduled workshop, correct?
So you have budget law, 9 AM to 11:30 on the 20th. On the 27th, you have 9 AM to 11:15 budget law.
Okay.
And so if you wanted to, I don't know if you guys are interested in coming and then coming back for whatever, but
I'd just rather roll into a workshop
Mhm.
since we're already here. If that's all right with everyone else on Thursday, the 27th.
Do you have an estimated length of the budget training?
the 27th, it's from 9 to 11:15, and then the 20th, it's from 9 to 11:30.
So maybe the workshop takes us an hour.
Hey, what it's gonna take.
We could start it at like noon. That'll give us 45 minutes.
We have lunch,
Oh. So one,
one, I think.
27.
the
Right.
7th, yeah. And at that workshop, we will be discussing, okay. Resolution, these, and then, I think we should just go ahead and, okay, well, when we get to item number 17, I'll explain, and then we can talk about it then. But we'll move these, items 13 and 14 to the workshop.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we schedule a workshop for Thursday, 27th, to discuss resolution 2025-02 and 03. Sorry.
I had a motion made by Counselor Miller to move resolution 2025-02 and 2025-03 to a workshop on March 27th. And Counselor Pointer seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, I'll take it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, we'll move on to item number 15, 2025-04. The expenditure appropriation transfer resolution. Manager, like to open it up?
Okay. Yes, so this was, money that the previous CPA transferred in order to pay for engineering fees. And, I would just like the council to be aware of that and also, to replace that money back into the LGIP account as soon as I have access.
And you said going forward, we'll be seeing this if there's ever anything. Correct.
Yeah.
Do I need to read this?
Right, well, I can read it. if you'd like. Okay. Resolution 2025-04, City of Lakeside, 2024-25 expenditure appropriation transfer resolution for March 13th, 2025. Whereas the Council for City of Lakeside approves the 2024-2025 expenditure appropriation transfer as follows. From the LGIP account, $81,000 to the Umpqua Bank Fund 10, $81,000. Total appropriation transfer was $81,000. And the request is to return it from the Umpqua Bank account to the LGIP account to the total appropriation transfer of $81,000. Whereas the appropriation transfer is necessary due to the ARPA through Business Oregon grant reimbursement for the new wastewater plant Fund 10, and whereas the funds were used to pay for engineering fees to Dyer Engineers, and whereas the CPA Stephanie Stroud made the transfer on January 15th, 2025, and whereas the reimbursement from Business Oregon was received in February 2025, whereas those funds may be repaid to the LGIP account, replacing the borrowed funds, and I don't have the back page. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council in Lakeside, Oregon, Coos County ordains as follows: authorize city manager to transfer funds from the Umpqua Bank back to the local government pool, LGIP, in the amount of $81,000.
All right, I have a motion.
I move that we accept resolution 2025-04 as return appropriation transfer resolution.
All right, a motion has been made by Counselor Pointer to accept resolution 2025-04 expenditure appropriation transfer resolution. And it was seconded by Counselor Ward. Is there any discussion? No? All right, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is that an aye from Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Okay. All opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries, resolution passes. The only comment I had in that, I'm so sorry, there's a comma in Nikki, comma Wood in all of the resolutions. It's a comma.
Oh, okay.
All of them.
Okay.
So. Okay,
Except that Microsoft we're not paying for.
okay. We are moving on to item number 16, resolution 2025-05, expenditure American Rescue Act appropriation resolution.
Yeah, we were gonna table that.
Yeah, okay, oh, yes, yes, so sorry. And we tabled this, we can table it to a certain date, next meeting.
Next meeting.
Okay. Sorry. Maybe wrote down on my agenda. All right, moving on to item number 17, resolution 2025-06, council rules of procedure. I asked the city manager to put this on our agenda, not assuming that it was gonna be passed. But since we didn't have the workshop about it, I thought we can at least put this here and then we can all work to make our changes to bring to the workshop to be, prepared. And this is the League of Oregon Cities model. So I thought we could kind of just build off of this. And whatever changes wanted to be made, we can just kind of be ready to talk about it.
And do we need to reschedule that workshop?
I thought we were gonna have it the 27th. Put it on that. Yeah, we think we'll need, I mean, we can always start it and if,
Yeah, I mean, get started.
okay. I think it's something that we really should at least start trying to work towards. But if there was any discussion about it tonight, we can talk about it, but we're saved it for the workshop. Okay. All right. We are moving on to item 18, hearing for David Smith, planning commissioner. So we're going to move into executive session to discuss this, but first we open it up to public hearing. No?
No, you read your ORS that you're gonna ask.
Okay. All right. ORS 192.6602B to consider the dismissal, discipline, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent who does not request an open hearing, which he has not. So, you're going to move into executive session.
You need to read the about the news media. It's welcome to us.
Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects. During the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session previously announced. Notices may be made in executive sessions. It's 6:54 now. We will reconvene in about 10 minutes at 7:04.
Thank you.
Challenging. procedural things going on. I apologize.
You're doing great.
The public hearing portion of it is, you know, I don't think we've done.
I didn't realize this had to go to.
Yeah,
It's just that, you know,
yeah, it just says the.
and we had a hearing, I guess, for this.